passing and glassing. And the LO today is to consider how beauty is presented in Rossetti's poem. Um, because I'm not from up north, I'm sure you probably say passing and glassing. Throughout, I will be speaking the southerner way, and it will be passing and glassing throughout this. So appreciate that, get irritated by that, I don't mind, but it's happening. Tough. So please make sure obviously that you have the poem in front of you. Please make sure that you have your context notes in front of you, and if you want to refer to them or add to them, just do so. So our entry task today is, what do we gain as we grow older? And I don't mean literal objects, but I mean metaphorical. So for example, we gain knowledge. What else do we gain as we get older? So the poem then, passing and glassing. All things that pass are woman's looking glass. They show her how her bloom must fade, and she herself be laid with withered roses in the shade, with withered roses and the fallen peach, unlovely, out of reach of summer joy that was. All things that pass are woman's tiring glass. The faded lavender is sweet, sweet the dead violet, culled and laid by and cared for yet. The dried up violets and dried lavender, still sweet, may comfort her, nor need she cry, alas. All things that pass are wisdom's looking glass, being full of hope and fear, and still brimful of good or ill, according to our work and will. For there is nothing new beneath the sun, our doings have been done, and that which she shall be was. So do have a consideration about what you think the poem is about. So what's the form of the poem? Can you give a summary of the poem in your own words, the speaker of the poem, and then think about Rossetti's religious views, but also her views on women in general. What is she trying to argue or say in this poem? So the summary then. So this is a poem about passing time from a woman's point of view. The looking glass is a metaphor for her fading looks. Just as flowers wilt, so do women lose their beauty. Unless they have a lot of Botox, etc. But that sadly was not a thing in Victorian era. The second stanza insists, again through the metaphor of flowers, that even women past their best can be beautiful. And the third stanza asserts that wisdom replaces beauty. So actually it's a very positive poem. It's about, you know what, beauty is not the be all and end all. It's women are beautiful in their own ways, and then when they're not, stereotypically beautiful, we're clever and wise and all these kind of things. It's written entirely from the women's point of view. The male gaze is entirely absent, and I think that's quite important. Usually, again, very stereotypically, we hear poems that are talking about women's beauty from someone else's point of view, a man's point of view. Whereas actually this poem is all from a woman's point of view, and actually basically going, you know what, no, we are beautiful and wise, etc. The mirror represents the speaker's view of herself, capable of perceiving her own value as she ages. The title is a concise metaphor for passing of time. The woman passes before a mirror and observes herself, but she also recognises her own aging. It may also indicating the approachment of death, because obviously as we get older, we get closer to death. Cheerful. So themes there, I haven't gone into great depth explaining these because I feel like they're fairly explicit, but the impermanence of time and beauty, that should be, because obviously time moves on, beauty moves on. And then the fragility of women, and I don't mean literally like women are fragile and weak, I mean the beauty of women is fragile, but actually we then become strong. So it's sort of the argument that we're fragile in one way but not in the other. So the first stanza then. All things that pass are woman's looking glass. So the first two lines are introducing the theme, passing time and the concerns of women, and the looking glass as a reflection of a woman's view of herself. This anaphora is used at the start of each stanza. So if you look at every other stanza, the other two stanzas, they all start with all things that pass are woman's blah blah blah. And then the looking glass, this introduces the idea of a literal and figurative self-reflection. So she could be literally looking in a mirror, but she could also metaphorically be looking at herself. as well, and as well as the themes of beauty and its importance to the Victorian woman. It also suggests vanity and transience. Transience meaning changing in time, and as we know, beauty changes in time. As we get older, our looks will fade. They show her how her bloom must and she herself be laid. So bloom is flower imagery representing youth, beauty and fertility. And then the modal verb of must indicates the inevitability of time passing and women losing their beauty. So they show her how her bloom must, be basically be laid to rest. It will pass. Suggests it's not her choice though that it is gone. It's forsaken. It's not her choice. It must be laid to rest. It's a given. It's a reflection of the subordinate status of women. Their fate lay entirely in the hands of the men around them, because ultimately, if a man doesn't, in this era particularly, if a man didn't find you attractive and you weren't married at that point, you realistically weren't going to get married, for example. So at this point, it's out of her hands. With withered roses in the shade, with withered roses and the fallen peach, unlovely and out of reach, of summer joy that was. So you've got the withered roses repeated, and roses symbolise love and passion. So for a woman to be laid with the withered roses is a metaphor for lost love and love that will never be. Once a woman loses her beauty, she is cast aside. So cheerful. The fallen peach could be a subtle link to fallen women. The prostitutes that Rossetti worked with as a volunteer for a rescue organisation. And the speaker is saying here that once a woman is no longer beautiful, she has as much chance of finding love as the fallen women, aka no chance at all. And then the enjambment of out of reach of summer joy indicates the lack of control had. They have no choice. Once the beauty is gone, it's gone. Women don't realistically have much option to keep it. And then summer joy, metaphor for beauty passing. So summer joy that was, summer, usually happiness, joy, etc. And it's gone. That was, past tense. All things that pass are a woman's tiring glass. So a tiring glass is a rarely used word meaning a dressing mirror. Here the mirror is not intended to reflect the beautiful woman, but the effects of a fading woman to cling to youth. So it's slightly changed from the first stanza. Like instead of looking glass, it's now tiring glass. The faded lavender is sweet. Lavender symbolises maturity, grace, and elegance. So this line is saying that even if faded, the lavender has positive attributes. Sweet, the dead violet, culled and laid by and cared for yet. So the violet is a symbol for innocence. It suggests that even an older woman can retain her value and loveliness, even though her youthful innocence has passed. The dried up violets and dried lavender. Note the colours of the flowers there. So purple, lavender again, like a purpley colour. They grow progressively darker. So if you actually, from rose to lavender to violet, they always get a bit darker. And the flowers may be dried up, but they are dried, preserved flowers, can still smell and look sweet. So still sweet may comfort her, nor need she cry alas. So all these flowers are still sweet. They, dried flowers, you might have some at home, or your parents might have some. Dried flowers still have the smell of the flower, they just won't die. And then that last two lines, Rossetti is being defiant in her defence of women as they age. This is reinforced by the exclamatory, the alas exclamation mark, which forms a dramatic climax. So it doesn't matter that you're old, you are still worthy, you are still lovely. And the final stanza. So all things that pass are wisdom's looking glass. So the purpose of Rossetti's argument is that aging means wisdom. This mirror reflects not beauty or loss of it, but something of greater value. Beauty isn't the issue. Beauty's whatever, essentially. Now, wiseness and being clever and intelligent, that's got value to it. That's got more value than beauty has. being full of hope and fear and still brimful of good or ill according to our work and will. So an older woman may lack the beauty of youth, but she has acquired wisdom and understanding of the breadth of meaning of life, hence hope and fear, good or ill. The one is the antithesis of the other. I mean, they're clearly opposites, but she has a grasp because of our work and will. So essentially, she's acquired wisdom, so can understand both good and bad, hope and fear, because she's gained that in her age. And then the work and will, this is just that older women have acquired independence and their own agency. Women don't need someone to tell them what to do, or older women don't in this poem. They can do it themselves. They choose to do it themselves. For there is nothing new beneath the sun. That is a quote from the Bible, Ecclesiastes, I think that's pronounced, 1:9. The biblical reference gives weight to Rossetti's argument, and the quote from the Bible is, the thing that hath been, it is that what shall be, and that which is done is that what shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Okay, so just to make you aware that there's that reference there. Our doings have been done, and that which shall be was. There is an inevitability in life's progression from youth to age, from self-absorbed vanity to wisdom and breadth, and ultimately to death. It's inevitable, essentially, is the point. But there's no point fighting. There is no point fighting it, sorry, because it is inevitable. But accept it, and through wisdom comes almost acceptance of it. So if you're a little confused by this poem, do have a look at that website that's on the slide for you. There are a number of quotes that are explained for you, and there are a few, not many, but a few YouTube videos on this poem that you might want to have a look at in case you're really confused by this one. But this one's quite a nice, cheerful one in the sense that, we should all be happy with ourselves and the way we look no matter what. All I want you to do is just make sure your notes are on your A3 grid.